Assalamu alaikum everyone. क्या हाल है आप लोगों के? Sir, I am your biggest fan. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, how are you guys doing? Walaikum assalam. Walaikum assalam. I'm good, Tayyab. Thank you for asking. I'm good, Ayan. Thank you. Sir, just because of you, I got. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you do well in your CI exam as well. Sir, do you do what? Add math classes? Yeah, I do add math classes. How will you go about this session? So we're going to solve past paper questions. Okay, we're going to solve past paper questions because the concepts, I already have a playlist. So you guys can check that out of binomial. Okay, it takes you step by step. But in today's class, I'm going to do just past paper questions. Thank you, Tayyab. Appreciate it. But I have uploaded my notes, by the way. You will find a link in the description of this video where you can download my notes. Okay. Sir, when are you coming up with an O level stream? Soon, inshallah. I'll start A level. I'll start O level streams also very soon. I know exams around the corner, which is why I thought I'll just kick things off with AS and then do O level maths and advanced. Sir, I've been looking forward to this stream as binomial has been troubling me a bit. All right, I hope this stream helps, inshallah. I cleared a lot of topics by watching your video. Okay, appreciate that. Anyway, so let's start. Those of you who are watching and haven't liked the video yet, please do that. It has a better reach when you do that. So yeah, let's start. So as always, I have highlighted the questions as per their difficulty level. Actually, I just realized I haven't highlighted all of them. There's this one question which I haven't highlighted yet. Okay, let me just judge right now what the difficulty level is and then highlight accordingly. Okay, so this is, I would say, a difficult one. Okay. So when will you do other topics of M1? So I will inshallah start from this month or the coming month. Okay, but don't worry, by your CIs, inshallah, my plan is to have the entire M1 as well as the entire S1 syllabus up online. Okay. Okay, so let's begin now, shall we? So as I was saying that I have highlighted the questions as per the difficulty level. Okay, so you'll find that over you'll find that over here, and you can download this PDF as well, by the way. Okay, you can check the description and you can download this PDF. Free Palestine, good shirt. Yep, that's the least we can do. Here, so let's start. Let's kick things off with some easy questions. Okay, now in binomial there aren't a lot of difficult questions. Okay, like even the most difficult questions of binomial, you will notice are not that difficult at all. Okay, even the most difficult questions are actually pretty easy. Okay, I just realized I think my screen is not updated. Here, it must be updated now. Hi, Sir Saad. Will this stream help O-level Ad Math student? Yeah, okay. So if you are an O-level Ad Math student, then you can watch this stream. This stream will help you out as well, inshallah. Okay, the screen. Yeah, now you guys can see my screen. Okay, so sorry about that. As I was saying, I have uploaded my notes also. Okay, these are actually my class notes, the notes from the class that I teach. Okay, and you will find an unsolved version of this PDF as well. Okay, so let's kick things off. Okay. Find the term independent of x in the expansion of so and so. So in a situation where you have x in both terms, what do we do? In a situation like this where we have x in both terms, what we do is we have to find out the value of r, which will then help us find out the value of x. Acha. Now, the thing about the value of r is that you can find out the value of r two ways. You can either find out the value of r through trial and error, okay, or you can find out the value of r by using the formula. Okay, so understand the formula, and then if you think you're in a position where you can do trial and error, then go ahead. Okay, so let's expand without knowing the value of r. So 6er x raised to the power 6 minus r minus 3 upon 2x to the power of r. Okay, and we want the term independent of x. That means we want x power 0. Okay, can we get it solved form 2? Yeah, once I'm done with the class, I'll upload it. I'll upload the solved version as well. Okay. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna ignore everything that doesn't have anything to do with x. So that means we're gonna ignore 6CR. Okay, and we're gonna ignore this minus 3 upon 2, and we're only gonna focus on x. Okay, so when you bring x in the numerator, x to the power 6 minus r remains as it is. This becomes x power minus 1. Don't forget that this was raised to the power of r. Now using rules of indices, using lots of rules of indices, minus 1 and r when multiplied become x to the power minus r. So same bases are being multiplied. That means you can add the powers together. Okay, so we ignore the power, we ignore the bases, compare the powers. We reach the conclusion that 6 minus 2r equals to 0, which means 2r equals to 6, which means r is equals to 3. Okay, now r is equals to 3 is only 50% of the work done, or maybe you can say 60%. Okay, because now we're going to use this value of r to find out the term that is actually independent of x. So that means 63 x to the power 6 minus 3, which is 3, and minus 3 upon 2x to the power of 3. Okay, so let's see what 63 is. 63 is 20, so 20 into x cube into negative 27 upon 8 x cube, and you can see x cube cancelling out and us ending up with the term independent of x. No, Mariam, it's not always in the, x to the power 0. Let me solve this, then I'll answer your question. 20 into minus 27 divided by 8. So here's what we're looking at. So we're looking at minus 67.5. Okay, so after simplifying, this is what we end up with. Okay, so it's not always x power 0. It depends on the term the question is asking for. Like here, for example, the question asked us for the term independent of x. Now, what is the power on x on the term that's independent of x? It's x to the power 0. If, let's say, the question had asked us to find out maybe the coefficient of x squared, then we would have equated it to x squared. Okay, that's how we do it. Now, another method is through trial and error. Okay. Now, trial and error is also not that difficult. And in fact, if you look at the marks, you might think for a second that, this is a lot of working for 3 marks. Although this will happen frequently in questions in A-level math. But don't be completely negligible to the idea of trial and error. Isn't it x power 1? No, that's the coefficient of x. Independent of x means it has no x. So x power 1 means it has x. Okay, so if that was the case, if the question had asked us to find out the coefficient of x, we would have equated it to x power 1. Okay, so x to the power 6 minus r into minus 3 upon 2x to the power of r. Now here's the thing. You can do a bit of trial and error. Now, if you think about it, you have x in the numerator and you have the same power of x in the denominator. Now, if you want the term that's independent of x, that means whatever power you have in the numerator, you should have the same power on x in the denominator as well. And then with a bit of trial and error, you'll realize that this way that both these can be equal is if they're both equal to 3. And that is when you realize that r is equals to 3. Okay, and then you can use this value of r, plug it in over here, and get the same answer. Okay, this is if you want to use trial and error. Okay. Sir, do we get these type of questions? Yes, of course you do get these type of questions. These questions are from past papers only. Okay, I didn't make these questions myself. They're from past papers. Okay. Acha. Now, let's do another question. Let's do a slightly more difficult question. Let's see if there are any easy questions. Let's see. Okay, here's an easy question. Let's try this. This is fairly recent, May June 2018, paper 12. May June 2018, paper 12. Okay, let's see what it says. The coefficient of x squared in the expansion, so and so, plus so and so is 330. Okay, so, sir, when will you do O level past paper discussion? Soon, inshallah. Soon. Okay, you can expect an O level past paper session very soon. Take care. Acha. So, here we're adding, and remember the only thing that we are focused on is the coefficient of x squared. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this expansion, 2 plus x upon 2 to the power of 6, and in order to find out the coefficient of x squared over here in this expansion, the value of r is going to be equal to 2. Why 2? Because x is in the second term. Okay, you can, I have all of this covered in my notes, so make sure to check it out. You can download them, and you will learn how to determine the value of r depending on where x happens to be. Okay? So when you take r as 2, 6c2, 2 to the power of 6 minus 2, that's 4, and then x upon 2 to the power of 2. Okay, so let's work this out. See what do we get? 6c2 into 2 to the power of 4. So that's 240. 62, by the way, is 15. 2 power 4 is 16 into x square upon 4. Okay, so 4 ones are, 4 fours are, 15 into 4 is 60. So we have 60x square. Okay, so 60x square is the coefficient of x square in this expansion. Now, just like that, let's find out the coefficient of x square in this expansion. Okay, so here also, since x is in the second term, and you want the coefficient of x square, so the value of r that you're going to use is going to be 2 as well. So 6c, sorry, not 6c2, 5c2. 5c2, a to the power 5 minus 2, which means a cube, into x to the power of 2. So 5c2 is 10, and here we have 10a cube, x square, sorry. Okay, so the coefficient of x square, let's write that down. 60x square plus 10a x square. Okay, and if we talk about just the coefficient, that's going to be 60 plus 10a. Okay, and this, according to the question, is the coefficient of x square, which is equal to what? Which is equal to 330. A cube, sorry, which is equal to 330. Okay, now let's solve for the value of a. So 330 minus 60 is 270. So 10a cube equals to 270, which means a cube is equals to 27, which means a is equals to 3 only. And that is your final answer. So, what are your thoughts about this question? Sir, I'm an O-level student. My dream is to get a distinction. Inshallah, I hope you achieve your dream. I hope you are able to get that distinction. It's good that you're setting the bar high for yourself. Wa alaikum salam. Okay, so that was a fairly easy question, like I said. Now let's try and attempt some slightly more complex questions. Okay, and that is what you will find mostly. I mean, that's the difficulty level that you will find mostly. Okay, so here's a question, fairly recent, May June 2022, paper 11. Let's see what it says. So it says here the coefficient of x squared in the expansion of so and so is a. The coefficient of x squared in the expansion of so and so is b. Find a and b in terms of the constant k. Okay, so this is first part, and what we have to do is we just have to find out the coefficient of x squared. Okay, in the first part at least. So I think we all can do that. All right, so here we go. 2x squared plus k square upon x to the power of 5. Okay, now bear in mind, What you want is the coefficient of x squared. And where do we have x over here? We have x in both the terms. So that means if I want to find out the coefficient of x squared, maybe you can do it with a bit of trial and error, or maybe you can use the formula. Okay, it's up to you. So let's use the formula. 5cr 2x squared to the power 5 minus r, and k upon x to the power of r. Okay. Now, let's ignore everything that doesn't have anything to do with x. So that means we're going to ignore 5cr, we're going to ignore 2, we're going to ignore k as well. Okay, and what do we want? We want the coefficient of x squared. Okay, so remember, this is what we are after. So x to the power of 2 into 5 minus r into x to the power of minus 1 to the power of r equals to x squared. Okay, so let's use rules of indices. 10 minus 2r into x to the power minus r is equals to x to the power of 2. Now again, using rules of indices, 10 minus 3r is equal to x to the power of 2. Okay, have I done this correctly? Let me make sure of that. 2r minus 3r. Okay, I think I've made an error somewhere. Just a minute. Acha, this is k square. Just a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized that here we want the coefficient of x power 4. Sorry, we don't want the coefficient of x square. We actually want the coefficient of x power 4. So we're going to equate it to x power 4. Okay, sorry about that. All right, now things make more sense. 10 minus 3r equals to 4, which means 3r equals to 6, which means r is equals to 2. Okay, so now let's use this value. Yeah, Mariam, I just realized that. So let's use this value of r to find out the coefficient of x power 4. So 5c2 2x square to the power of 5 minus 2, which is 3, and k square upon x to the power of 2. Okay. Okay, so let's work this out. 5c2 is 10. All right. Into 8 x to the power of 6 into k square upon x square. So in the end, we should end up with x power 4, which we do. So we end up with 80 k. This is going to be k power 4, by the way. 80 k power 4 x power 4. So the coefficient, as far as the coefficient is concerned, is 80 k power 4. Okay. Okay. Now, as far as finding out the coefficient of x square is concerned, that is what you have to find out in this expansion. Okay, and here x is in the first term, so that means the value of r is going to be equal to n minus the required power of x. So what do we want? We want the coefficient of x square. So r is equal to 2. All right, so 4c2 2kx to the power of 4 minus 2, that's 2, and minus 1 to the power of 2. All right, so let's work this out. 4c2 is 6. 6 into 4, k square x square. Minus 1 square is going to be positive 1. So we have 24k square. Okay, so we have a and we have b. Okay, a, according to the question, was the coefficient of x power 4 in the first expansion. So this is what a is. Okay, and the coefficient of b, according to the question, b is the coefficient of x square in this expansion. So this is what b is. Sir, I saw you at Nebula. I regret not meeting you. All right, nothing to regret. Inshallah, we'll meet. We'll bump into each other maybe one day. Khair. So that was part A, fairly easy. Now comes part B. Part B says, given that a plus b is equals to 216, so we know what a is and we know what b is. So a is 80k to the power 4 and b is 224k square, and this is equal to what? This is equal to 216. Now get all the terms on one side, and what does this look like? This looks like a disguised quadratic equation. Okay, what does this look like? This looks like a disguised quadratic equation. Now you can solve it as it is. You can solve it as it is through middle term breaking, or what you can do is you can, in fact, either way, let's just simplify it. So we can simplify it by taking 8 common. Okay, so if I take 8 common, this becomes 10k to the power 4 plus 3k square minus 27. Yeah, equal to 0. So 10k power 4 plus 3k square minus 27 equal to 0. Okay, now if you want to turn this into a quadratic equation, at the moment it's not a quadratic equation, it's a disguised quadratic equation. So you can make this assumption where you say let k square be equal to p, or anything that you want it to be equal to. So that means this becomes 10p square plus 3p minus 27 equal to 0. Do middle term breaking, and if you do it correctly, factors of 270, that leave you with 3. Okay, let's see. So 10 and 27, not gonna work. Actually, you know what? Let's just use the calculator over here. We'll save some time that way. So using the calculator over here, and so, or you can use the quadratic formula. 10, 3 minus 27. So we have one value of p, which is equal to 3 upon 2. And the other value of p is equals to minus 9 upon 5. Okay, so which value are we going to go with? Let's see. Now remember, we've only found out the values of the value of p. We need to find out the value of k. So we made an assumption that k square is equals to p. So that means k square is equals to 3 upon 2, or the same k square equals to minus 9 upon 5. So this we can't solve. This is not possible. This, however, we can solve further. And we can find out the value of k by taking the square root on both sides. So it's equal to plus minus square root of 3 upon 2. And this is your final answer. Okay, so do let me know what your thoughts are on this question. Okay, let's do a difficult question. Okay, let's do one not extremely difficult, but yeah, let's do a difficult question. Let's do this one. So 6-mark question, not very recent, but still quite relevant. Okay, this requires the concept of expanding NCR without a calculator. Okay, so if you aren't aware of this concept, you can learn this concept through my notes or through the videos. Okay, through the binomial videos. Okay, negative value is not possible because we had to square root later on. Yes, negative value is not possible because you can't use that value of to find out the value of k, because you would have to square root it. Okay? Yes, you're right. Okay, so this concept, a lot of people don't learn this concept, but this concept is very relevant. Okay, it's not tested very often, which is why people ignore it, but it's very important. Okay, now it says here in the expansion, so and so, the coefficient of x is 7. Okay, find the value of the constant n, and hence find the coefficient of x squared. So it's a 6-mark question. And as far as 3 minus 2x is concerned, there's nothing to expand over here. But as far as 1 plus x upon 2 to the power n is concerned, this is something that we will have to expand. And where do we have to expand it till? Expand till x squared. Okay, so let's do that. Let's expand 1 plus x upon 2 to the power of n till x squared. Okay, so we start with nc0, 1 to the power of n, x upon 2 to the power of 0. So the first term is a no-brainer. It's 1. Okay. The term after that, nc, will be nc1, 1 to the power n minus 1, x upon 2 to the power of 1. Now, nc1 is n, 1 to the power n minus 1 you can ignore, and x upon 2 will remain x upon 2 only. Okay. Then NC2, 1 to the power n minus 2, x upon 2 to the power of 2. So NC2 you can work out by doing n into n minus 1 upon 2 factorial. Again, I have a video on this, or I have explained it in detail. You can check it out here. Okay, I've explained how to find out how to expand NCR without a calculator. Okay, and then into x upon 2 whole square, which means into x square upon 4. So what is this equal to? N into n minus 1 upon 8 x square. So where are we? This is where we are. 3 minus 2x into 1 plus nx upon 2 plus n into n minus 1 upon 8 x square. Okay. Now, what do we have to find out? We first have to find out the value of the constant n. And what do we know in order to do that? What information are we going to use? This is what we're going to use. The coefficient of x is 7. Now, how do we get the coefficient of x? We get the coefficient of x by multiplying the terms that leave us with x. So that means 3 is going to be multiplied by nx upon 2, which will give us 3n upon 2x. And minus 2x will be multiplied by 1, which will leave us with minus 2. Okay. Now scrape off the coefficient by taking x common. So you have 3 upon 2n minus 2. And this, according to the question, is equal to 7. So 3 upon 2n minus 2 equals to 7. 3n upon 2 is equals to 9. 3 1s are, 3 3s are. N is equals to 6. So now we have the value of n. Yes, O-level and maths and advanced streams are also lined up. Don't worry. Okay. All right, now that we know what the value of n is, we can determine what the expansion looks like now. Okay, so with the value of n, this is what it looks like. 3 minus 2x into 1 plus 6 upon 2x plus 6 into 5 upon 8 x squared. Okay, so I've plugged in the value of n. So 3 minus 2x into 1 plus 3x plus 6 into 5, what is that? 6 into 5 is 30, divide by 8. So 30 divided by 8, 15 upon 4. Okay, now what do we want from this expansion? Now we want to find out the coefficient of x square. So how do we find out the coefficient of x square? 3 is a constant. We should multiply it with the coefficient of x square, so we get x squared in the end. So that's 15 into 3, which is 45. So 45 upon 4x square. And minus 2x should be multiplied by 3x. So that's going to give us minus 6x square. Okay. Now let's simplify this, see what do we get. So 45 upon 4 minus 6. So we get 45 upon 4 minus 6, 21 upon 4. 21 upon 4 x square is the answer. Thanks for streaming this topic. This is not a topic of statistics, although yes, you do have binomial theorem in statistics as well, but this is the pure math concept. This is P1 basically. So sorry to disappoint if you thought this is a topic of statistics. Anyway, so we've done a couple of easy questions. We've done a couple of medium questions. We've done a couple of hard questions. I think I'm just going to do, let's do one more question maybe. Okay. So this topic is not that difficult, and I've already made an entire playlist on this topic. So I'm just going to do one more question, and that should be it. And that's this question. And this is as recent as it gets. This is May-June 2023, paper 12. Okay, so like I said, this is as recent as it gets. Not technically not as recent as it gets. So A2 maths कौन क्यों नहीं upload करते? A2 maths inshallah देखो I might start this year. Okay. The coefficient of x power 4 in the expansion of x plus a to the power of 6 is p, and you basically just use the combination formula in the last question. Yes, that's what I did. And the coefficient of x, because that's what it is. Technically, it is combination. And the coefficient of x square. Actually, you know what? I just realized this is very similar to the question that I just solved. Let me pick another question. Yeah, let's solve this one. This seems like a nice question. Expand 1 plus y to the power of 6. This, by the way, is October, November 2019, paper 13. Okay, I'll repeat, October, November 2019, paper 13. Okay, so expand in ascending powers of y as far as the term in y squared. Okay, so 1 plus y to the power of 6. So 6c0, 1 to the power of 6, y to the power of 0. That's just going to be 1 straight away. 6c1, 1 to the power of 5, y to the power of 1. That's going to be 6y. And then 6c2, 1 to the power of 4, y to the power of 2. So 6c2 is 15. So that's 15y squared. So the final answer, 1 plus 6y plus 15y squared. Sir, do you teach O-level math online? Yes, I do teach O-level math online. But at the moment, if you want to register, you can't because the batch has gone too far. I will, inshallah, start a crash course in January. You can register for that. Okay, in the expansion of 1 plus px minus 2x squared, the whole thing power 6, the coefficient of x squared is 48. Okay, so these questions might seem all of a sudden that, wait a minute, how do we have 3 terms? Okay, binomial means 2 terms, but here all of a sudden we have 3 terms. But if you focus, you will notice that all the question has done is replaced y by something else. Okay, the question has replaced y by something else. So what we're going to do is we're not going to expand this all over again. We know the expansion of 1 plus y to the power of 6 is 1 plus 6y plus 15y squared. So what we're going to do is, if you compare the two, if you compare these two, you will notice that y technically is equal to px minus 2x squared, which is what we're going to plug in over here. So 1 plus 6 into px minus 2x squared plus 15 into px minus 2x squared whole square. Okay, and remember, we're after the coefficient of x squared, so we're going to ignore this. 6 we're only going to multiply by minus 2x squared. Okay, so 6 we are only going to multiply by minus 2x squared. No, this is not similar to binomial distribution. That's a completely different subject altogether. That's S1. So we have minus 12x squared plus 15. Now this we will have to expand. When you expand this, you have p squared x squared minus 2 into px into 2x squared. We're using the identity over here, plus 2x square whole square. So all of this is irrelevant. We're only concerned with this. Okay, so when we multiply this, we have minus 12x squared plus 15p square x square. Now let's take x square common so we can scrape off the coefficient. This is what we have, which according to the question is equal to what? Is equal to 48. So that means 15p square minus 12 is equal to 48, which means 15p square equals to 60, which means p square equals to 4, which means p is equals to plus minus 2. And that is your final and the correct answer. And by the way, not the final answer. The question said find the positive value of p. So this is correct, but it's not the final answer. It's just going to be 2. Okay, although p will be plus minus 2, but the final answer is going to be just the 2. Yes, of course, I saw the World Cup final. Anyway, so all the other questions you will find are a repeat of pretty much everything we have done. Okay, so I will encourage you to practice these questions. Okay, I encourage you to practice these questions, and I also encourage you to have a look at the notes as well. Okay, since this is not a very difficult topic, so we're not gonna spend a lot of time here. I think let's just keep it till here only, and let me know what. Sir, can you please do one more hard question? All right, I can do one more question. Okay, so I'll do one more hard question. Okay, for you, for C. In the expansion 2x squared plus a upon x to the power of 6, the coefficient of x power 6 and the coefficient of x cube are equal. Find the non-zero constant a. All right, so remember we want the value of. Naima, you can find the notes from the description. Okay, the description of this video has a Dropbox folder where you will find my notes. Okay, so we want the coefficient of x power 6. Okay, so 6er to x squared to the power of 6 minus r into a upon x to the power of r. Okay, so let's ignore anything that doesn't have to do with x. So we're going to ignore 6er, we're going to ignore 2, we're going to ignore a. So we have x squared to the power of 6 minus r into x to the power minus r, and since we want the coefficient of x power 6, we're going to equate this to x power 6, and since we also want the coefficient of x cubed, so at the same time, let's equate it to x to the power of 3. Okay, so this becomes x to the power 12 minus 2r into x to the power minus r is equals to x power 6. So this means x to the power 12 minus 3r equals to x to the power of 6. So 12 minus 3r equals to 6, which means 3r is equals to 6, which means r is equals to 2. And here, now we can use this, since this is what it simplifies to. 12 minus 3r equals to 3, since we want the coefficient of x cubed, which means 3r equals to 9, which means r is equals to 3. Okay, so let's use r as 2 and r as 3 to find out the respective coefficients. So 62, 2x squared to the power of 6 minus 2, which is 4, and a upon x to the power of 2. Okay, and this, by the way, I didn't mention, this is also fairly recent. It's October, November 2020, paper 11. Okay. All right, now let's see what we have. So 62, let's work out 62, that's 15 into 16 x power 4 into a square upon x square. So 15 into 16, what is that? Let's see, 15 into 16, that's 240. So suppose instead of a upon x, we take minus. No, so when finding out the value of r, the signs become irrelevant. Okay? When finding out the value of r, the signs become irrelevant. So because you're only dealing with this power, so no matter what the sign of the term is, we're only concerned with the power. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So 240 a square x square. So that means as far as the coefficient is concerned, that's just 240 a square. Okay, so that is the coefficient of x to the power of, no, wait a minute. Okay, for this would have been 8, and this is 6. So as far as the coefficient is concerned, it's 240 a square. Okay, let me make sure of that and see if I haven't made any error. Yeah, I haven't made any error. Okay, now let's find out the coefficient of x cubed, for which we're going to use r as 3, 2x squared to the power of 3, a upon x to the power of 3 also. So 6c3, that's 20, into 8x to the power of 6 into a cube upon x to the power of 3. So 20 into 8 is 160. X to the power of 3, once it simplifies, a cube. So that means the coefficient is 160 a cube. You can't hear me? Really? Is that the case with everyone? Can you guys not hear me? I think that's just the case with you. Khair. So, according to the question, both the coefficients are equal. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to equate them. 240 a square is equals to 160 a cube. Okay, so we cross out the zeros, we cross out the a square, and we decrease the power. So we're looking at 24 is equals to 16. Yeah, so I'm afraid the problem is at your end. 16a, which means a is equals to 3 upon 2. Okay. Now, then the question says, find the coefficient of x power 6 in the expansion of so and so. All right. So 1 minus x cubed, since we now know the value of a, so we're going to replace it with that. It's 3 upon 2 x to the power of 6. Okay. Now, here's the thing. This is a 1 mark question, so you have to keep your eyes and ears open. 1 minus x cubed, you're going to multiply, and what you want is x power 6. Okay, so what are you going to multiply 1 with? 1 you're going to multiply by the term or by the coefficient of x power 6. And what are you going to multiply this minus x cubed with? This you're going to multiply with the coefficient of x cubed, so that both of them combined can give you x power 6. Okay? Acha. Now what's the coefficient of x power 6? Let's take a look at that. What is the coefficient of x power 6? The coefficient of x power 6 is this. So now the thing is, since they're both equal, okay, so since they're both equal, that means you can refer to them as any other value. Okay, so you don't really have to find out what the value is. Since they're both equal, you can just call them p. Okay, so let's call this p and let's call this p as well, since they're both equal. So 1 into px to the power of 6 will give you px to the power of 6. And then minus x cube into px cube will give you minus px to the power of 6. And ultimately, what do you end up with? You end up with 0. Okay? So you can actually find out what the coefficient is. Like you can do it with the actual coefficient. So for example, 1 minus x cube. And if I find out the coefficient of x power 6, so 240 into a, which is 1.5, the whole thing square. So that's 540. So that means the coefficient of x power 6 is 540, which means the coefficient of x cube also will be 540, because the question told us at the very beginning. So now if you do it with actual values, you have 540 x power 6 minus 540 x power 6, and in the end, what you have is 0. How do you decide the sign as positive? Because in the expansion, you have the plus sign in between. So if you have plus sign, that means all the terms are going to be positive. When you have a minus sign, the signs are oscillating. They start with plus and then minus, plus, minus. Sir, are you? No, I'm not. I'm not teaching at Nixon anymore. In fact, I'm not teaching at any school anymore. Okay, so I am going to stop here. Like I said, I encourage you to practice the rest of the questions yourself, and they're not that difficult. Binomial is an easy topic. You don't want to lose marks in binomial because you have other difficult topics for that. Okay, fair. I'm not encouraging you to lose marks in difficult topics either. I'm just saying that make sure that the topics that are really easy, you practice them to a point where they actually become easy for you. Okay, so I'll stop here. I will see you guys inshallah in the next stream, which will be soon. Hopefully not A levels, but the next stream will be of O levels. Okay, so take care everyone. See you guys.